not only Ashwamedha here. Indra sent all his best apsaras down to break the austerity of Narayana Rishi. And then Narayan said, so Narayan just, there's two stories. One, he put a lotus flower on his thigh, and the other one, he just touched his thigh. And out came even more beautiful girls just from this meditation. Out come all these beautiful girls. And so then Indra and the rest of the demigods were a little ashamed. And they didn't know what to do. And then, but Narayan was not angry. He just said, welcome, come to my ashram. I've got some gifts for you, whichever one of these beautiful ladies you want, you can take. And they selected Urvashi, which is how come Urvashi got to the heavenly planets. So we're not just going to tell stories. There are some lessons for us in all of this. Srila Prabhupada also mentions in the purport that even now, Narayan Rishi are at Bhadrakasham in the Himalayas, and they're still being worshipped. So Indra's fear shows that he's not a pure devotee. So we have to take that as an instruction. We should not become proud of our position and get worried about someone taking our position. So this pride is actually going to be our downfall, like it was for Indra, and on more than one occasion for Indra. And the other thing is that actually even material austerity will give benefits. Prabhupada gave the example of Gandhi. So Mahatma Gandhi was very austere. Prabhupada said he was living a life of a brahmachari. Even though he was married and had children, he was so austere, Prabhupada called him he was living a life of a brahmachari. And Prabhupada says in one, I think it's in a purport, he says, this is why Gandhi was able to resist the force of the British rule for so many years. On the force of, because of his austerity, it was not for a spiritual cause, it was for a material cause. It might be a good cause, but it's not a spiritual cause. But he got material potency from that austerity. So, and even this demon got some benefit from Lord Indra for performing austerity. Hiranyakashipu got lots of benefit from Brahma for performing austerity. It didn't give them ultimate success though. Another lesson for us is the Lord's response. When the Lord was when his tapasya was upset, he didn't get angry. When his tapasya was upset, he just said, oh, welcome to my ashram. So we know that when somebody is spiritually powerful, they get these good qualities of the demigods. And they, as opposed to others, like who's the famous one whose austerity broke? One famous sage whose austerity was broken by Menaka? Vishwamitra. So Vishwamitra was not a pure devotee. He did austerity for 60,000 years, and then Vishwamitra came and his austerity broke, and he got angry. But here we find Narayan was not getting angry. So when one has spiritual strength from spiritual austerities, one gets all the good qualities of the demigod. So Indra became humbled by this occasion, but being humbled, he also gets his pride back and has to get humbled again and again and again. So we'll come to the point of tapasya, which is the main reason why we know about Narayan Rishi. Tapas comes from the root meaning, which means to burn, to heat or to burn. So Prabhupada described that as voluntary accepting inconvenience or discipline for the highest purpose and for the realization of spiritual life, for the realization of transcendence is an appropriate reason to do austerity. So why did Narayan perform austerity? They didn't have to perform austerity just to get rid of demon. Because they can just, the Lord simply by his thought Lord Vishnu creates the whole material universe simply by his glance. So to get rid of a demon, their appearance is not required. They came as Narayana Rishi to teach us about tapasya. Prabhupada gave a lecture on this verse in 1972 in Los Angeles, and he says modern civilization is given the freedom for sense gratification because they cannot control their senses. He says they cannot control their senses. They say, never mind, let's go to hell, it doesn't matter. So this is modern life. They cannot control the senses, so they've invented a philosophy that sense gratification is the goal of life. And as a result, they're going to hell. In the second chapter of this, of Canto 1, in verse 28 to 29, purport, Srila Prabhupada talks about tapasya for some material gains. He says Ravan and Hiranyakashipu underwent severe type of bodily torture to achieve the end of sense gratification. Sometimes modern politicians also undergo severe types of austerities to achieve some political aid. That is not actually tapasya. One should accept voluntary inconvenience for the sake of knowing Vasudeva, because that is the way of real austerities. Otherwise, all forms of austerities are classified in the modes of passion and ignorance. So, a particular example that was relevant in Prabhupada's time about politicians undergoing severe types of austerities was Gandhi with his fasting. So it's taken that he's speaking about Gandhi when he says this. So we had Ravana and Hiranyakashipu did severe austerity. We had modern politicians who did severe austerities like hunger strikes. We had, so we talked about this. So Ravana and Hiranyakashipu stood on his big toe on one foot for so long that all of his bodily flesh had been completely eaten away, and ants had grown all the way over his body, and he was completely invisible. But it proves the example that material austerities will give some result. As a result of Hiranyakashipu's austerities, the whole universe felt the burning from the tejas from his body. So even material austerities can give you so much tejas that you can affect the whole universe. But he was not successful in the end. Gandhi underwent this hunger strike for political power. He wanted to save India. So he was in the mode of passion and ignorance. He was after political power. Even if you say he's doing it for the public good, it's still the mode of passion. It's not the subtle. And we contrast that with Vasudeva and Devaki, which Prabhupada also mentions in that last purport I mentioned, that they had a goal to get Krishna as their son. So they achieved the goal. Krishna came as their son, known as Vasudeva. He appeared in a four-handed form, with his weapons and with garlands and armor and everything, just to show to them that this tapasya became successful. They've been also doing tapasya for a long time, for 3 births, and they were very successful in their tapasya because they had a spiritual purpose in mind. Okay. Prabhupada also gives the example in a lecture on the verse in 28-29, the second chapter. Just like modern scientists, they have also undergone great tapasya to discover the atom bomb. But that tapasya was like Hiranyakashipu's tapasya. What is the value of such tapasya? The tapasya we do should be to understand Vasudeva, which means Krishna. Vasudeva is the name of Krishna when he was born from Vasudeva. So this makes the teachings very sharp. Scientists, politicians, Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, they undergo great difficulty, real difficulty, real sacrifice, but without the proper goal of understanding Vasudeva. And so therefore, their austerities in the mode of passion and ignorance, and their austerities did not give a good result. Got some political result, but at the end his own people killed him, so he didn't get a successful result either. Prabhupada makes it clear, if we want advancement in spiritual life, we must accept some type of difficulty. And for us, we don't have to running of energy of the Lord, oh Krishna, please engage me in your service. So people invent all sorts of other meanings for the Mahamantra, but that's one of the offenses, to invent a reason, meaning for the Mahamantra. Some people say, oh, Ramachandra Ram could be Ramachandra, could be Balaram, could be Radharaman, but this is not the meaning that Prabhupada gave us. Prabhupada gave us a very straightforward meaning, which aligns with the purpose of Lord Chaitanya to take us back to Goloka Vrindavan. Our tapasya of following the four regulative principles is to control our senses in daily life. The four regulative principles are so important because they happen to oppose the four legs of religious life, which is truthfulness, austerity, mercy, and prosperity. So these four limbs of sinful life actually lead to all other types of sinful life. These four: meat eating, gambling, illicit sex, and intoxication. They will lead to all other types of sinful life. We can give a whole class on that, but we don't have so much time. And Srila Prabhupada gave us engaging our time in service. So in the Gaudiya Math, when Prabhupada took initiation, they were chanting 64 rounds a day. And that was their devotional service. But Prabhupada realized that as Kali Yuga is progressing, our mind is not stable enough for us to chant for 6-8 hours a day without our mind wandering everywhere. I mean, hardly we can finish one round without our mind wandering somewhere else. So Prabhupada gave us our chanting 1.5 to 2 hours, and then he gave us service. He gave us Harinam Sankirtan. He gave us preparing bhoga for the deities, which ultimately would come prasadam for the devotees. He gave us book distribution. He gave us so many services. And these services are our tapasya. So Lord Chaitanya was mentioned in the purport, how he's come to, out of his mercy, to take us back home to Godhead. The fact that God himself came as Naranarayan Rishi to show us how to do tapasya means that we have to take tapasya seriously. We can't just ignore the instructions of the spiritual master and of Srila Prabhupada. We have to accept it willingly and not just because we have to do it. So, four regular principles: chanting japa attentively, rising from Mangalati, eating only Krishna prasadam, not going here and there and finding other things to eat. Engaging in service rather than entertainment, looking on Facebook, looking on, what's the other one, Instagram, looking at so many other things. If we're just flicking through and we're not actually listening to something devotional, then it's also a waste of time. And of course we come back to the purpose of this chapter, to finish this class. This chapter is to establish Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. Ete cham sakala punsha, Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. Indrari vyakulam lokam, hridayanti viveka. That's in the 28th verse of this chapter. All the above mentioned incarnations are either plenary portions or portions of plenary portions of the Lord. The Lord Sri Krishna is the original personality of God. So even the second line of this, the second couplet of this sloka tells us about the Lord's incarnation, with the purpose of the Lord's incarnation. Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Hridayanti Vivekanaya. He comes again and again to protect the pious and eliminate the demonic, to try and help us become purified so we can go back to God. And then he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Ete Chamsakala Krishna Stupa one's way. We mentioned how that was the Paribhasa Sutra of the whole Srimad. So far we've had the four Kumaras who have come to teach Brahman realization and Brahmacharya. The second we got Varaha, the boar incarnation, who rescued the earth from the cosmic ocean and fought with Hiranyaksha. Third we had Narad Muni, which Guru Maharaj spoke about. Narad Muni came to spread devotional service throughout the universe. This verse, Naranarayan Rishi, are teaching tapasya and sense control. The next verse tomorrow will be about Lord Kapila. Lord Kapila has got a lot of teachings for us in the Bhagavatam, in the third canto of the Bhagavatam. He came to explain Sankhya philosophy primarily, but he's also taught about devotional service. He's taught about the origin of the movements of the living entity. Specifically, he's taught about how the living entity, because when it's carried, Guru Maharaj spoke about this, he spoke about this here, how the living entity is carried from one body to another by the subtle body. The five elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether, and the material body, they get left behind when we leave our body. But the three elements, mind, intelligence, and false ego, are carried with us to the next body. So, when the soul is carrying those mind, intelligence, and false ego coming into the womb, Lord Kapila explains that the soul is actually conscious. I'm getting put into a horrible condition. He describes how in the womb of his mother, the child is being bitten by all different microbes and different entities that are living within the body. Our body is not just ours. Our body is full of cells and muscles and so many other things, but it's also full of different living entities. It's full of bacteria, it's full of fungi, it's full of all sorts of things. So in the womb of the mother, Dave explains how the body of the child is bitten and is feeling miserable and it has to sit in its own stool and urine. And it's feeling miserable, it's praying to the Lord, please get me out of this and I'll not forget you again. At the moment he's born, he forgets you. Because that birth, the time of birth is traumatic, and the memory goes again and he's back into the material world. And he looks around and, mother, and the false ego gets built from that. The baby can only understand, mother's going to feed me, mother's going to protect me, mother's going to clean me. As it gets a little older, it realizes father and brothers. It still thinks everyone is to protect us. And when we become adults, unless we come to a spiritual conception, we still think the whole world is there for us. And we get angry when someone disagrees with us. And we say, you should understand this. We don't think to ourselves, somebody else has a different process and they've come to a different conclusion from us. First we should listen before we start saying, I know everything. Because all we know is what we've come to a conclusion from our own mind and from the previous impressions on our mind from previous lives. So this mind, intelligence, and false ego comes with us, and that gives us impressions we're born with. They say a baby is born innocent, but still this mind, intelligence, and ego is there. And as the baby gets a little more independent, it comes out. Their different nature comes out. Some babies become very nice babies, some babies become demonic babies, even if they were born in a devotee family. And one other reference for Bhaddarikashram in the Bhagavatam is that after Krishna advised, before he departed this world, he advised Uddhava to go to Bhaddarikashram. and there to deepen his devotional service. So I'm going to stop there. If anyone has any comments or questions, please ask.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for wonderful class with the analysis. Very wonderfully you explained that how the scientists are making bombs, by going under severe the asteroid.
Yes.
But nowadays what is happening over the world, they say the bomb is blasting and killing each other.
Yes.
Which is Srila Prabhupada already predicted. So this kind of professional maintenance is
Yeah.
very terrible.
It's shown to be not only useless, it's shown to be very, very bad for us. Thank you. Anything else from anyone? First time you said in your class. First time you said in your class, you usually go like this.
I'm reading the commentary of Sridhar Swami on Atmopasham, the word
Okay.
which you mentioned.
Yes.
So he mentioned here the basic austerity for a devotee is following the main thing is following the words from the spiritual master. That is the basic and foremost austerity for a disciple. And if he did it, Sridhar Swami mentioned, it is equivalent to what is Narayan is doing in Bhakti Darshana.
Yes. It's a control of the mind and senses, which is what the purpose of.
Because usually whatever your guru will ask you to do is something which is you are not comfortable. And when the body is not comfortable, that is called as tapa. Tan ko pida dena. But by following your spiritual master's order, you are gaining so much stress, not physically but mentally and socially also. So that is equivalent to what is Narayan is doing in Bhakti Darshana.
Good. Thank you for that. And Vijay, I noticed this morning we were reciting 10 offences, you were chanting japa. 10 offences are an important part of your japa. You should learn them, what they mean, and not just ignore them. The whole program is put together for our benefit. Not that we skip and think that we are above part of the program. Guru Maharaj chastises very much that we take for granted 10 offences and think we know them. We may know we don't do most of the 10 offences, but hardly you can find anyone who does not have the last offence. Api Pramada is also an offence to be inattentive while chanting. If you can say you're always attentive 100%, even through one round, then you can skip the 10 offences. Otherwise, learn them and recite them. Okay? Thank you very much. Saying is Sri Prabhupada,